Lobsters are one of the most poorly understood sea creatures, and for those with money, one of the most underutilized foods that can be used to stay lean year-round. Why? Because lobster is almost pure protein, and people think that it's a super expensive food, but if you cook it at home, it really isn't. And actually, lobster used to be seen as prisoner food. In the Northeast, where lobsters were and are abundant, they used to feed prisoners them because lobsters actually descend from insects. They are basically cockroaches of the sea. Don't check my science on that. They have a common ancestor, which is why, if you look at their tails, they don't look that different than the tail of, say, a cockroach. We're going to be cooking some amazing lobster tacos today. I know that might not sound appetizing, but this certainly will. They're going to be protein-dominant real food. All you need is a handful of things. Salt, obviously. Garlic, that's a chef's best friend. We're going to be cooking these in ghee today. A couple lobster tails, tortillas, scissors, avocado, and a cutting board and a knife, along with some paper towels and a couple skillets on a stove. That's all you need. And this is one of my favorite meals that I eat without counting calories, without going hungry, that helps me stay lean year-round when paired with a functional training plan, just like the training plans that I create for my clients. First step after defrosting the lobster tails and rinsing them off for any obvious scuff is we want to take scissors. We want to cut under the tail, right? So and we want to be a little bit delicate with it because if we crunch it too much, it's going to break. We want to keep the shell intact, just aesthetically, it's nice, easier to cook like that. This is where we're going to want to cut to. We want to stop cutting there, and then we're going to want to open the shell, just pull it apart like that. You're going to hear it crack, and then you're going to run your fingers in between the meat and the shell. That's how you separate everything before we're going to cook it. So you see that my finger is sliding in between there. Good. We're going to do that on both sides. Shove it all the way there. And then we're going to wash out this gross stuff in the center because that's not something that we want to be eating. We're going to pull this out. This is the meat. And of course, you're familiar with the money shots where the lobsters look like this. Before they do it, we got to cook the tail. So first step after taking the meat out of the lobster tail is we're going to want to rinse it off. We took out that long, gross, poopy looking thing. That's like the intestine, I assume. Just wash it off with cold water. Cool. And we're going to want to do that exact step again with tail number 2. When I played in the Cape Cod League after my freshman year as a college baseball player, we were obviously in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Lobsters were abundant there. We had great cookouts that included lobsters, among other things. Food was great. People were rich. Haven't been back there since, though. We're going to want to wash this lobster tail just like we did the first one. Now that we got both of these lobster tails removed from the shell, we're going to want to take a tablespoonful of ghee or butter. And we're going to sear these lobster tails. You can also bake these if you prefer, 12 to 15 minutes, 400 degrees in the oven, but I want to get a nice crisp taste on the outside of the lobster tails because we're going to chop them up, throw them in the taco, and we like crispiness in this household, at least I do. While that ghee gets hot, we're going to want to apply just a little bit of salt on top of the lobster tail. As the lobster ghee gets hot, we're going to want to turn the other flame on because we are going to simultaneously cook the tortillas that will house the lobster. Now that this ghee is starting to bubble just a little bit, we can put the lobster tail down on the side, put that one on the other side. Just like any meat, we're going to want to shimmy the lobster tails just a little bit. And when we see this turning orange, that's how we know we're almost ready for a little bit of a flip. And now that the ghee has melted on the skillet, like we always do, we will spread it around with one side of the tortilla. And we'll cook a second tortilla simultaneously because we can fit two here. We want to cook these lobster tails on high, medium high. I prefer to cook them a little bit hotter than most people do because I like that sear. If you want to cook them a little bit lower, go ahead. You won't go wrong either way. Flip that back just a little bit. That is the kind of texture that we're going for right there. Okay, so as these cook, we're going to cut our avocado. All right, now we're going to flip this to the other side. This, we'll put it for about 20 seconds. While we flip that, let's make sure that this side (20 seconds all around). All right, we'll let that sit on the side. And this skillet has enough room for a third neighbor. Okay. As that slower cooking lobster tail cooks, we're going to slice up the aguacate. We're going to keep chopping up avocado. All right, this lobster tail is basically cooked on all sides. We will continue to just wrap it around for about 20 seconds. Okay, let that sit, turn that off. Keep slicing these avocados. So that tortilla is done. This tortilla is about done. This tortilla can use a flip. So we are going to put the most delicate portion, which is the avocados, put those on first. Okay, we got a little bit of avocado on taco number one, a little bit of avocado on taco number two. And we're not done just yet. Clear this pan, clear the gunk off of it, because there's one more thing that Chef Alex wants to add to the top. So we'll turn this flame right back on. Put a little bit more ghee in the pan. This tortilla is done. Now that this ghee is hot, we're actually going to turn the flame off. Let that cool for just a little bit, and then we're going to separate the meat from the lobster tail, the shell at the very least. You can cheat just a little bit and see how we're doing. Awesome. Not missing. And then we're going to separate the meat from the shell on lobster tail number 2. What we're going to do now is we're going to put a little bit of now this flame is actually off because the pan is hot enough. We're just trying to get the garlic to be hot. Now normally you wouldn't want to use a metal spoon on a non-stick pan, but the Hexclad advertises that they're special, so we're going to trust them on this one. As that garlic browns, we're going to chop up lobster tail. See, it's nice and juicy, not overcooked. Believe it or not, as little meat as this looks like it has, it should still fit the macro needs of protein dominant real food Alex. Okay, now that this garlic is cooked just a little bit, we're going to throw it on the taster taco. See how Chef Alex did. Chef Alex didn't miss.